You're here. Welcome to the Masterminding Success podcast. They say if you want to be successful in business and in life, then surround yourself with successful people. So pull up a seat. The mastermind is about to begin.
Isn't it sad that a turtle and a snail can never have a sleepover? Oh, hey.
True.
Hey, you made it. Glad you could join us for another episode of the Masterminding Success podcast. We're your hosts, Keith Wheeler
And Nuria Colby.
Hey, Nuria, what are we going to be talking about today?
Today is something that I think we've both had experience in, and that is dealing with burnout.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And just to be clear, we're not medical professionals. We're not, giving any medical advice. It's just, we're just talking about from a business perspective, burnout. And, back when I still have a 9-to-5 job, but before I had my business, I'd suffered from burnout from my regular job, on numerous occasions. But honestly, I didn't know that it was really a thing when it, if you're owning your own business. It's owning your own business is so freeing and everything else. And I was surprised the first time I ran into burnout. And you've had experience with it as well.
Yeah, I think what you just said is really something that I can repeat, because when you're in a 9-to-5 job or in an office job, you get burnout, but it's a different kind of burnout. I find it's like you're just tired of your job, but you go home and you forget about it, and that's it, and you can relax. Whereas if you run your own business, you are living your business your whole time, 24 hours a day, really. So it's very easy to get burned out. And can you think of an example? I remember when the first time I really noticed it was when I started my YouTube channel, and I was growing my channel really well. And I thought, I should really offer more value. So I then decided to do 2 videos a week instead of 1. And then I decided to do 3 videos a week. Mm-hmm. And I think at one point I was doing 4 a week. And that's when it happened. That's when I burned out. There was a point after a while when I just couldn't think of what topics to speak about or what. I just found it really hard to sit in front of the camera and actually start talking. I just couldn't bring myself to do it. What experience have you got with burnout? That's the one I can remember really vividly, but there's others as well.
Yeah. Since obviously I have a YouTube channel as well, and that's definitely one aspect of my business that I have run into burnout, and it, like you said, it didn't take long, and it's one thing that I think is key is to just recognize what is burnout, and what I define it as is, or at least the kind of a red flag for me is if I stop enjoying what I'm doing. I agree with what you were saying that when it's your business, you live it. It's harder to turn off that, that business mindset. And I could be in the middle of shopping at the store, and we walk by the book section, and sure enough, I've got my phone out and I'm looking at books and how people are doing it and what people are charging and stuff like that. And always looking at the business aspect of it. And it is very hard to turn it off. One time that burnouts happened to me, even, fairly recently within the last year or so, is, not just with the YouTube channel, but all the different aspects of my business, all kind of fighting for my time. And I've got my goals in mind of what I want to accomplish, a week, a month, a year. And so, you always want to like push it because you want to achieve it sooner so you can move to the next goal. And, with the course and, the channel and my books and, my merch and all the other areas that I'm in, I have definitely run into burnout. I mean, to the point where, like I have a merch business, and I mean, I stopped creating anything for my merch by Amazon for a little over a year, just because I couldn't do it. I just had no passion for it, no drive to do it.
Yeah.
And that's, that was surprising to me. I wasn't ready for it. I wasn't ready for that feeling,
Yeah, absolutely. What you just described, that lack of passion for it, lack of not wanting to do it anymore. It's not fun anymore. And I remember that vividly because I love doing YouTube videos, and I loved it from the beginning, and I loved talking to people, and it was just something that I didn't enjoy anymore. And it could have easily gone in a different direction, and I could have easily said, I'm not doing videos anymore. I'm not doing YouTube. And I just couldn't do it. But something inside me did want to push forward and say, no, you've built it up this far. It would be a shame not to continue now. And then I scaled it back to 1 video a week again. And then it was fine, So I think sometimes burnout can happen when you set yourself too many goals and you try and overachieve them. So I think sometimes it's really important to look back at what you have achieved so far and recognize that that is a valid achievement, and you don't need to outrun anybody or to be much better than that. So I don't know. I mean, that's the way sorry, that's my cat in the background. So I try to avoid that. I try to set goals that I can't easily achieve.
Right.
I try to set goals that I can easily achieve, and then I can set another one.
Right. There's a difference between setting a goal and setting a realistic goal.
Yes.
And I think that's the big thing is, you can have an overarching goal, you want to quit your day job, but that shouldn't be your only goal. You need to figure out, and we can do goal setting on a whole nother episode, but you need to set little goals along the way.
Definitely.
And it's, I think one thing that is what it really comes down to, at least for me, was having a healthy work-life balance.
Yes.
And being able to, as much as possible, shut that off, shut that business mindset off. And
that's hard.
It is hard. It is hard. When it's, especially if you have an online business and literally you work from home, especially nowadays, a lot of people do work from home. It's even harder to kind of shut that off. And I think one thing that has been has helped me over the last few years to kind of either avoid getting to that burnout level, or at least helping me to recognize when it starts to sneak up, is having somebody to kind of in your corner to look out for you, to kind of bounce ideas off of, but also to kind of keep you in check. And whether that's a partner, a spouse, a friend, it doesn't matter. But because I was just like you were saying, I was considering stopping the YouTube channel on numerous occasions. And a fellow YouTuber that we both have in common, Dale, he was the one that kind of kept me in check. And he's like, Keith, you can't quit. Take a break, do whatever you need to do. But you're helping people, and you need to stick with it. And that's what I needed, because I very easily could have just said, with everything else, on my plate, I very easily could have just said, what, this is something that I'm not enjoying anymore. And if I'm not enjoying it, then I need to cut it out. And that's not the case. It's not that I don't enjoy it. I was just burnt out.
Yeah, that's such a good example as well. And I think you're absolutely right. If you've got somebody in your corner that sort of helps you with that. I'm very lucky that I've got my husband to do that, because he sees what I'm doing every day, and he knows exactly, when it's too much, and he'll say something like, let's go out, let's just get out the house, so that really helps. But a lot of it we can also do ourselves, and also we learn as we go along. I mean, we run this business, and we need to learn what our limits are, how we make things better for ourselves, and not feel bad about it. Don't feel bad about switching off and doing something different. And that is really hard, because I was smiling when you said earlier that when you're going outside or when you go out and you see a bookstore, and I do exactly the same thing. I go in with my phone and start taking photos, and I look at the overall color schemes that they use for their covers, and I never switch off. But I actually enjoy that. I enjoy that part. And then when you enjoy it, you don't burn out. But it's when you stop enjoying it, when it becomes overwhelming and it becomes something that you have to do, like when I set that YouTube goal of 3 or 4 videos a week, I was so fixed on that it became a chore, it became overwhelming. And that's when you burn out really easily, or that's when I burn out really easily. As long as I enjoy what I'm doing, I can go on forever. But it's when it becomes too much, that's the danger level.
I agree. And I think it comes down to, there's a couple aspects. One is, being able to, and hopefully people, listening and watching this, this will be that for them, is, knowing ahead of time what to look for. That's super. And then when it's happening, knowing how to recognize it. And so I hope that's what this does for somebody out there. But then the other aspect is, okay, well, what if I'm already there? How do I deal with it? And one thing is it's okay to switch things up. It's okay to take a break. I took a break from the YouTube channel for almost an entire quarter, fourth quarter, which is like the most lucrative quarter of the year. I took completely off YouTube. And I took it off and I focused on, I wrote a lot more, I did more of my books, actually creation of the books. I just took, a month or 2 off and didn't do anything with the business at all. And not only did I come back rejuvenated and with a new passion for it, but the funny thing is even without me there, my business kept going, and that's one of the great things about an online business in particular is, you, especially when you've had it for a while, you've got things in motion that, I hate using the word passive income because it gets overused so much.
But it is. It is.
If you can walk away from your business for 3 months and you're still making, a decent amount of money, and step away from your YouTube channel, and I still gained subscribers. I had gotten, I was just below 1,000 when I'd done this, and I think I had like 700. And when I came back, I had gone past 1,000. I was almost at 2,000. And it just blew my mind how people were coming back and watching and finding my videos, even without me putting anything new out. And that kind of helped too. So I think it's important to be able to recognize some of the symptoms of burnout, but also to know what to do when it happens, because it would be unrealistic to think that we're all going to be perfect and we're never going to get burnt out again. We've done this episode, so now everybody knows, and now it's not going to happen. I'm sure, because I know
it's
myself.
Gonna happen.
I know myself. I'm sure it'll happen to me again. I just hope to be able to catch it early on, to where I don't get to that point where I have to step away for a long period of time.
To be honest, I think in many ways, I always try and see a silver lining in everything. And I always try and see, if I'm having a bad experience, and life is going to give you a lot of bad experiences,
Yes, it is.
but it's all about how you turn that round and how you learn from it. And I honestly feel that my burnout pushed me into different directions that are now other possibilities that I can pursue. So it wasn't a bad thing. It was just my body telling me, slow down a minute and look at other things as well,
Right.
So I don't see it as a bad thing, and I'm not afraid of it. If it happens again, then I know what to do, because I'll just relax about it and think, no panic. This has happened before. It's a temporary thing that you overcome, and you just have to slow down and do other things, and look at other opportunities, other things that you always find that when you have burnout, I don't know if this happened to you, but when that time comes, there's usually something else that interests you that takes away your focus from the burnout. I found that personally. I don't know if other people find that, but I think if you look, you will find that there is something else that kind of takes that place. So I'm not afraid of it anymore. Bring it on. So, I'll just turn my energy into something else and get back to it afterwards.
Yeah, I think what it really comes down to is just acknowledging it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Acknowledging that, okay, I'm starting to get burnt out. And that acknowledgement, as minor as that may seem, that in many cases will be the difference from somebody taking a break and somebody just quitting.
Yeah.
And I truly believe that the biggest difference between people who are successful and people who are not successful in their business is the people that are not successful quit before they got there, because you never know if tomorrow's that day. And until you get there, it's not easy. And I hate to say it, but when you do get there, you're just setting yourself a new goal, because we're in business, we're kind of like artists in the fact that, we're never satisfied. We always want to push ourselves, and that's a good thing. That's not a bad thing. And
it's essential.
Yeah. And again, we can talk about that in another episode, but
we can.
But I think the big thing is to acknowledge it early on. And then and like I said, that way you can, getting to what you were saying, you can kind of pivot, instead of taking it, going to extremes, which we as human beings have a tendency to do, is, I'm not enjoying this anymore. And so many people out there say, if you're not enjoying it, then you might as well just be doing a 9 to 5, which I agree, but to a certain extent. But remember, is it that you're not enjoying it, or you're not enjoying it right now?
Exactly.
In this, in this time frame, whether it's today or the last month or the last quarter, whatever. If you're not enjoying it now, at some point, if you started the business, you probably did enjoy it. And so you need to step back and say, okay, am I not enjoying this because I'm just burning myself out? Am I working too hard? Do I not have that work-life balance? Or is this something that honestly doesn't interest me anymore? And what'll happen if it's burnout is, you'll realize that, I'm not interested in it right now. It's not enjoyable. And I'm not talking about the boring stuff. I'm not talking about, no one likes to pay bills. No one likes to pay taxes. I get that. I don't enjoy that either. That's not burnout. Burnout is where you just, you dread, if you dread going in to your business for the day, the way you dread going into a 9 to 5 job, that's burnout.
That's burnout.
That's usually the biggest red flag for me is, if I huff and puff, or if I have to roll my eyes, I got to do another video, whatever, then that means that I'm not enjoying it anymore. And so getting back to what you were saying, just stepping back, acknowledging that, and then stepping back and being like, okay, well, what do I enjoy right now? And then kind of pivoting again, not quitting, just pivoting and changing your focus a little bit.
That's right. And I think it's also important to say that burnout, when we're talking about burnout, we're not, it's quite, I think sometimes it's easy to confuse it with having mental health problems, because that could come from burnout. You've got to be very careful that it's just burnout and not something else, because it could easily be that we fall into depression or into something else that can come with it. So it's very important to recognize it early on so we can do something about it before it gets any worse, because burnout can become something else. And then we really need to take different, we can't just ignore it and just do something else. That's something different. So I thought it's just important to mention that, because we're talking about burnout, the simple sort of burnout that you get from getting fed up with what you do in your day-to-day life, in your business, when you try and take on too much. But obviously you've got to also, is it just the business, or are there other things in your life going on that contribute to that feeling, and then it's something completely different. I think what we're talking about today is just the burnout from taking on too much in your business and in your job. Would you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. And that's actually, I was thinking that at the beginning, which is why I mentioned the whole, we're not doctors and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but no, absolutely. If, burnout when it comes to business, as with any kind of burnout, if left unchecked, can definitely lead to other things and can quickly spiral.
Yes.
So I think obviously, just like with anything, the biggest thing is to do what you can to try to prevent it. And I think one of the first things, like I said earlier, is to have that accountability partner, someone that can kind of keep an eye on you and it's kind of a hard balance, because there could be some, people who are just, they care about you, but they don't really care about the business. They don't have a vested interest or anything in there. And so it could end up, where they're throwing up red flags and they don't see the business side of it. So ideally, if you can find someone that is looking out for you on both sides, but from a business perspective and from, your personal life perspective, then they can really give a more roundabout decision that, you're starting to burn out, maybe you should take a day off, take weekends off, whatever you need to do. And then I think the other thing is, like I said, trying to plan for it. Don't ignore it. Don't think it's not going to happen to you. Because you listen to this episode or whatever. Just, it's like, having a fire extinguisher. You don't plan on having a fire, but you want to be prepared in case you do,
Absolutely.
And so having some steps in place that, like I said, trying to do that work-life balance, which I know firsthand how difficult that is, especially if it's an online business and you work from home. But having a hobby, having something else that you enjoy, and sometimes, especially if you've taken a break from it, sometimes you just have to, from a business perspective, you may have to force yourself to try it again. Not, like, for example, my merch business. I'm currently forcing myself to give it another shot. But with already that knowledge that right now I don't enjoy it. And that's how, now that I don't feel that I'm in burnout right now, this is when I can make a decision for my business of whether that's a good area for me to focus my time on. Now that I'm not in burnout, I can make an educated decision. Do I enjoy it now? Because sometimes we, things that we enjoyed, 2-3 years ago, we grow, we mature, and we just don't enjoy it anymore. Our tastes change. So that's something that I'm currently working on is, okay, I'm gonna, just add, do, a design a week or something like that, like set minor goals and see if that love that I had for it before, if it kind of resurfaces. And if it doesn't, well, then that means it wasn't, it was a great opportunity that I had. And now it's, now I need to, channel my business, especially, with all the things that I'm working on, my time is very precious to me, because, time is the one thing that we have a finite amount of. We can always make more money, but we can't make more time.
No.
And so we need to, but that's something that you need to deal with when you're not in burnout is to, focus on, do I enjoy this? If not, maybe I should take it out of the business. But yeah, so that's one of the things that I definitely would say is in preparation is to, I like diversification of a business. But but it also depends on where you are in your business.
Yeah.
If you're just starting out, then I wouldn't put your eggs in too many baskets.
That's right. Yeah.
but,
That's the other thing, because we do tend to try different things to diversify, and sometimes it's just too much and we don't need to do that. I think I've come to a point now where I think, will this benefit my business in a big way, or will it just be a minor? And then if it's just a minor thing and I've already got a lot going on, then I'll skip it. And, I can always try that another time, and I'll stick to the things that make a big impact on the business. Right. And if I enjoy them as well, then so much the better. But I think you learn in time. You just, when we start, we kind of muddle along, and then we learn as we go along. That's, and we just have to be patient with ourselves as well, and not expect too much from ourselves. So that's, sometimes that's the biggest challenge, because when we work for somebody else, we know what they expect from us, but when it's ourselves, we kind of expect even more sometimes, which is difficult. Yeah.
Well, and especially when you're first starting out, when you first start out, you've got such high expectations, and you're excited about it.
Yeah.
And so you just go all gung ho, maybe you quit your day job and you're going all in on this. And I wanted to bring that up because, one, it ties in directly with what you're talking about, but also that is when it's so easy to get burnt out. You have to remember that this is a marathon, not a sprint. And so, I agree. You need, it really comes down to goal setting. You need to set realistic goals, and don't ask too much of yourself at first, because we grow, and your business is going to grow, and your business is going to become more efficient the more you do it. And so when it becomes more efficient, then you're able to put in the same amount of time but get more done, and so
that's right.
You don't need to, and again, it goes back to the whole work-life balance. I know I worked in the restaurant industry for years when I was younger, and I know that, when you first start a restaurant, for example, that first 5 years, you're pretty much just, you're working nonstop.
That's
and
a
so
tough business.
it really is. It really is. And so, it's that same thing with any kind of business, though, is like, I really want this to be successful. I maybe you didn't quit your day job, but you want to do this side gig and get it to where, by the end of the year, you can give fire your boss, as they like to say. You need to decide, especially when you first start out, what's realistic. What can you do in a healthy way to build your business, but without the detriment of your own health, whether mental or physical. And
because that comes above anything, doesn't it? I mean, your health is the one thing that, like time, you can't get more health. You can, you just have to do whatever you can to stay healthy. That's the most important thing.
And again, the it really comes down to, as much as possible, being trying to be as proactive as possible about burnout. And if you start feeling it, maybe take next weekend off, or maybe take the next couple days off of the business. Go to a movie, go hang out with whatever you enjoy doing outside of the business, to again try to rejuvenate that love, that passion that you had when you first started it. Because it's a lot easier early on, just like with any condition. When you have an issue, it's easier to spot it right away, and then you can fix it a lot easier than once you get burnout, and like I did, you're taking 3 months off, and that's a lot harder on a business. Luckily, my business had been around long enough to where I still was able to to bring it, because I mean, there are plenty of businesses where if you take 3 months off, you're basically starting from scratch again. And so it's definitely something that I hope that everybody listening, whether you've suffered from burnout or not in the past, at least you learned something new about kind of the red flags. I cannot stress enough how important I find it to have somebody to to look out for you. And, you know, and just tell them flat out, say, look, if you see that I'm not enjoying this anymore, if you see, you know, I mean, most people know, at least have some idea of what what burnout means. If you see that, then, you know, let me know. If I'm starting to complain about this, like I was complaining about my 9-to-5 job, that's a huge red flag.
That,
you know,
definitely. Yeah, that's true. And also be your own best friend. If you, for whatever reason, you haven't got that person that can do that for you, be your own best friend. You know, treat yourself like you would treat your best friend. If it gets too much, you know yourself better than anybody, and or at least I hope we do. Yeah. But you know, you just have to look after yourself and try and avoid that burnout before it even starts. That's right. The key to it. Yeah.
Right. So I think that if you set, you know, and like I said, we could talk about goal setting another time, but if you do set yourself little goals, then what that does is that allows you to have a celebration for those little goals that you've achieved.
Absolutely.
And I have found personally that helps kind of steer away from getting to that burnout level, because I give and one of the rewards I give myself sometimes is I'm going to take the weekend off, or I'm going to take next week off. And sometimes you have to plan it, you know, depending on what your business looks like. You know, maybe you can't take a full week off right now, you know, but you know, I've accomplished this. And so I'm going to log off 2 hours early today, or 2 hours early tomorrow, or whatever. Again, it's you're setting goals and that are for your business. So you're helping your business, but then you're rewarding yourself for doing that by helping your personal life by taking time off or whatever. Yeah. So again, it's that work-life balance.
Yeah, definitely. Really important to do that, because, and also sometimes even you don't even have to do anything big to reward yourself. Sometimes the fact that you've got this list with all the goals that you've achieved, whether they're small goals, doesn't really matter, but you've achieved all those things. That's a celebration in itself. And that just builds up your confidence as well. And it just makes you feel better. And if you feel better, you avoid burnout as well. Yeah, so,
yeah, I agree. And I'll tell you, not to sound childish or whatever, but I have actually, I've done like my goal chart, and I've actually gone out and bought those little gold stickers. You remember the little gold stars that you got when you were a kid?
I didn't get any.
the amount of joy that just seeing one of those gold stars next to a goal, just I don't know if it's nostalgia, probably. But it's just seeing a gold star. You know, you're all excited, and you know, just little things like that can really make, you know, gamifying it, if you will. You know,
whatever you have to do.
Exactly.
You know, whatever that is.
Yeah. Just making making your business, making it fun. You know. Yeah. You know, life's too short to be miserable, and so absolutely. I think if you make conscious decisions to make it fun, whether it's, like I said, little gold stars, or you know, setting goals and then giving yourself, you know, time, you know, leaving early, coming in late, whatever, you know, and you feel kind of like a kid again, because you're like, I'm coming in late, you know.
Yes.
But you know what? It's your business. You're the owner. You can do that. Yeah, and so so
I was saying that today to my husband, funny enough, because this morning we're doing up our house at the moment to sell it, and we just took the morning off and went to B&Q. I don't know if you've got that there, and IKEA, just to buy a few things. And I said to him, you know, it's amazing that we can do that. We didn't have to ask anybody for the day off, you know. Yeah. So I really appreciate things like that now, and I think that is something that you have to remind yourself of as well, that there are so many benefits to having your own business. So, you know, burnout is the downside of it, but you can do a lot of things to try and avoid that, and looking at the positives is a good way to do that as well.
Yeah, no, I agree completely.
Yeah. So I think, you know, today was such a good topic, because it kind of went into all sorts of different directions. We were talking about passive income and goals and all sorts of things, which I hope we will cover them in a different episode, hopefully.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sure we will. But yeah, it's, that's the thing about business, is how everything kind of ties to one another. And also it shows just how important and how realistic burnout really is because all these other elements are, directly or indirectly affected by it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Well, this has been another great mastermind, Nuria. And a big thank you to each and every one of our listeners and viewers who came to tag along. If you enjoyed today's mastermind, it would mean the world to us if you'd follow or subscribe to the podcast on your favorite listening platform. And while you're at it, go on and leave us a review. We'd love to hear what you have to say about us. What are we talking about next week?
Next week is a really good one again. It's building a brand. And I think we can talk till the cows come home on that one.
Yes, absolutely. That definitely does sound like
That's a big topic.
It is. Yeah. It is. Well, until next time, I've been Keith Wheeler.
And I've been Nuria Colby.
Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining the Mastermind today. Be sure to follow the podcast on your platform of choice and tell a friend who would enjoy it too. Your support is greatly appreciated. This has been the Masterminding Success Podcast.